Hola, buenos días, ¿cómo estás? Yo quiero que ustedes estén bien. Yo soy la señorita Erika, aquí con Brookline Interactive Group, para continuar con las lecciones de español para estudiantes que ahora están comenzando a aprender español. Hasta este punto, nosotros hemos aprendido mucho, e incluso nuestros primeros verbos en español. Hemos estudiado las conjugaciones y también la idea de los infinitivos. Y además hemos aprendido nuestro primer verbo con sus conjugaciones, que es el verbo ser. Entonces, hoy vamos a continuar con ser, con un gran repaso del verbo y también con unos ejercicios para practicar. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Community Spanish. I was just opening with a bit of Spanish. Although this class is just for beginners, we still like to expose you to as much Spanish as possible. So we always start our lessons with a bit of Spanish introduction. And so what I was just explaining is that we're here to continue our beginner Spanish lessons for Community Spanish program for Brookline Interactive. And up to this point, we have learned a lot, even though we're still just in the beginner stages, including we started to learn about verbs in our most recent lessons, including the idea of infinitives and conjugations, and then we've actually learned our first verb and its conjugations. So what we're going to be doing today is to practice more with our first ever verb, which is a very basic but super important verb in Spanish, which is the verb ser, meaning to be. So we're going to be reviewing that verb and then doing a lot of practice together to make sure you're feeling comfortable using this verb. So first, we want to do a quick review of what we've learned so far. So as we mentioned in the previous videos, we talk about verbs are essentially our action words. We can talk about infinitivos, infinitives, and conjugaciones or conjugations. So in terms of infinitivos, which are infinitive verbs, essentially what it means is the verb in its most basic form, a neutral form that doesn't go with a specific person. In English, these are represented by the word to plus a verb. So for example, to write, to read, to study, these are all infinitives in English. In Spanish, the idea of infinitive is kind of marked, just like how in English it's marked with the word to beforehand. In Spanish, they have another way to mark an infinitive, and these are verbs that end with ar, ar, er, er, or er, ir. So this is how we can identify infinitive verbs in Spanish with these three endings. And so we've looked into our first verb, which is the verb ser in Spanish, and this verb means to be. Now, we have made a mention that there actually are two verbs for to be in Spanish, but we won't worry about that too much yet. We're just focused on our first verb we've learned. So what we're going to do today is review that verb, make sure we're feeling comfortable, and then do a lot of practice to put it into some context. So you can practice to actually use it in some sentences, your first basic sentences in Spanish of things that you can put together. We have learned some expressions together, some conversational expressions. So you have learned some sentences already in Spanish, but these are kind of be learning to how to put together your first sentences in Spanish. So the verb ser, as I said, means to be. And so this infinitive is with the ER, as I mentioned, the three infinitive groups, AR, ER, IR. So let's first review quickly las conjugaciones or the conjugations of the verbo ser. Okay, and so we're going to, por favor, repiten después de mí. Please repeat after me. Hopefully this is starting to sound familiar if you've been tuning into our previous video. So, yo soy. Yo soy. Tú eres. Tú eres. Él es. Él es. Ella es. Ella es. Usted es. Usted es. Nosotros somos. Nosotros somos. Nosotras somos. Nosotras somos. Vosotros sois. Vosotros sois. Vosotras sois. Vosotras sois. Ellos son. Ellos son. Ellas son. Ellas son. Ustedes son. Ustedes son. Muy bien. And just for a little reminder on what does this mean, we have in front of us la página, so we can see again the conjugations we just practiced. So again, we'll repeat these one more time. Again, the more repetition you have, the more likely you can remember them, and also to help you work on your pronunciation. So, yo soy. Tú eres. Él es. Ella es. Usted es. Nosotros somos. Nosotras somos. Vosotros sois. Vosotras sois. Ellos son. Ellas son. Ustedes son. Muy bien. So, yo soy means I am. Tú eres means you are. Él es means he is. Ella es means she is. Usted es means you are, but as we've learned in previous lessons, usted is the polite form of saying you. When we want to show respect to someone, like maybe like a colleague or a boss, a government official, whoever you're speaking to, even just a regular stranger, you want to show respect, we use usted. So usted es is the translation of you are in a polite way. Nosotros somos is we are. Nosotras somos is also we are, but nosotras refers to an all-female group, so I'm speaking for myself in a group of all women, and nosotros is for a mixed gender group or an all-male group. Vosotros sois is you all, as in speaking to a group of people, you all are, but vosotros is quite specific in that they only use this in Spain. So if you're in another country outside of Spain that speaks Spanish, they won't use vosotros. So vosotros is very specific to Spain. So vosotros sois is you all are in Spain, and vosotras sois also you all are in Spain, but just like with nosotros and nosotras, vosotras refers to an all-female group versus vosotros refers to a mixed gender group or an all-male group. Now, onto the last line of ellos son is they are. Ellas son, also they are, but again, same difference. Ellas, all-female group. Ellos, all-male or mixed gender group. And ustedes son is you all are. So ustedes is the way we say you all in all of the other countries outside of Spain. So this is the one I'm going to be using primarily. So ustedes son is you all are. So those are just a quick review of the conjugations. Hopefully they're sounding familiar if you joined us for the last lesson. But we do try to make these lessons fairly independent. So if you're not following along to listen to or tune into all the lessons, you can still jump in and join and practice your Spanish with us. So going ahead, so we're going to be reviewing just quickly what we use this verb for, and then let's get into the most important part, which is the practice. So we use the verb ser, as I said, meaning to be in a permanent sense. And so we use this usually to describe people's personality characteristics, because again, in general, these are things about them that don't change. You know, if you're a funny person, usually you're a funny person for life. And also physical attributes, generally speaking, these are things that don't change. They stay the same. So we should use ser for that. So, por ejemplo, ella es bonita y divertida. She's beautiful and funny, describing her characteristics and physical attributes. So we use ser. With our next category, we have for relationships, showing how two people relate to each other. Ellos son amigos. They are friends. They are friends. They are colleagues. They are classmates. All of these kinds of things we can use ser to describe those relationships. Next, we have for the professions, las profesiones, which is something that we learned previously in another lesson with some vocabulary for las profesiones. We also use ser for that. So, por ejemplo, Julián es abogado. Julián is a lawyer. Okay, so again, this is his profession. So we would use ser for profession. Okay, then on to the nationalities. Nosotros somos de Boston, or nosotros somos americanos, por ejemplo. So describing where people are from, we use ser. Now, for the last two, we have possession. So saying like if something belongs to someone else, la casa es mía, the house is mine. Again, generally speaking, the possession, it doesn't change, or something that's long-term at least. And then the last category for ser is for telling time and date. So, por ejemplo, es la 1 de la tarde It's 1 in the afternoon, it's the time. Hoy es el 3 de agosto. Today is August 3rd, so the date. So we use ser also for time and date. So that's a little quick review of the uses of ser. But most importantly, I want to get into the practice. So we're going to do some exercises together to put these things all together and make sure that we understand well how to use ser and with some real examples. Again, so this is where we're putting our skills to the test to make some of our first sentences together. So I have some exercises here for us to practice doing that. So what we're doing is going to be translating these sentences del inglés al español, from English to Spanish. We have the elements in front of us. We are using here the Rola Languages textbook. So if you are interested in getting a copy of the book, you can go to our website, to rolalang.com in our shop and take a look at the book. But otherwise, you can just follow along with me here on the screen. So we're going to be putting together these elements of los pronombres personales, which we have learned, the different people in Spanish. And then we're going to be combining that with our conjugation of ser, which we now know as well. And then lastly, we're going to be putting together a little adjective at the end, which we have here in the box. So we can see serio, seria. Por favor, repiten después de mí. Serio, seria. Aburrido, aburrida. Estúpido, estúpida. Altos, altas. Inteligentes, serios, serias. So we're not only working on our verb skills here, but we're going to be slowly building the vocabulary. And these are some things, some concepts we have seen in previous lessons. And I wanted to just highlight here before we go into our translations that we have to make sure that the adjective we use, again, from the last column, like the serio or aburrido, we have to make sure that this goes well with the person we're describing. So if we're describing someone who is masculine, we should use a masculine ending, which we've also practiced when we worked on the gender of different things. So we have, for example, things that end usually in o are masculine. Things ending in a are usually feminine. So we have to make sure to keep that in mind as we make our sentences and do the translations. We also have to make sure to keep in mind the number. So if it's one or if it's plural, which is something we've also practiced in previous lessons. So if we're talking about something that is singular, ending with o or a, but if it's masculine, if it's plural, then we're ending with os or as. So just make sure you keep those in mind as you do these translations with me. So, número uno, let's try it together. Número uno, I am boring. Not very nice to say, but good sentence for practicing. So, I am boring. So, we go with yo, again, choosing from our category of the pronombres personales. Then soy goes with yo. So, I am, yo soy. And then we need the word for boring. So here, depending on who you're describing, because the yo could be describing a feminine or masculine. So you can choose either aburrido or aburrida. Just choose the one that makes sense for describing you. So for me, I would say yo soy aburrida. Okay, so maybe you would say yo soy aburrido. Again, it describes the gender of the person. Okay, so that's número uno. Número dos, you are serious. You are serious. So here we're going to go for tú, as we've now learned, is you. Tú eres seria or serio. Again, in this case, we don't have any more information to know if the person we're describing this to we're describing is masculine or feminine. So we could translate it two different ways. Tú eres serio or tú eres seria. So, por favor, repite después de mí. Tú eres serio. Tú eres seria. Muy bien. Okay, número tres. She is boring. Okay, here's our first one where we have a gender specified. She is boring. Ella es aburrida. Ella es aburrida. Número cuatro, number four. He is smart. Él es inteligente. Él es inteligente. So you can see from our box we had inteligentes, but that one was ending with ese because that's in the box that goes with vosotros, which is a group. But because we're talking about just one person, I'm going to take that ese off. So él es inteligente. Número cinco, I am smart. Yo soy inteligente. Repito después de mí. Yo soy inteligente. Yo soy inteligente. I'm smart. And in this case, because inteligente, ending with E, goes for either masculine or feminine, so it doesn't matter the person you're describing. In this case, the yo, because inteligente will work for both. It's not one that has an O or an A ending. It's always inteligente. So yo soy inteligente would be perfectly correct for a man or a woman. Número 6. They are stupid. Not very nice. But again, just for the sake of practicing Spanish. They are stupid. Ellos son estúpidos. Ellos son estúpidos. Or if it's they, an all-female group, ellas son estúpidas. Ellos son estúpidas. Again, making sure that adjective agrees in gender and number. Okay, número 7. He is tall. He is tall. Él es alto. I started to scroll down on the page. You can't quite see it anymore, but él es alto. Él es alto. Repita después de mí. Él es alto. He is tall. Número 8. She is tall. Ella es alta. Ella es alta. This one we can definitely hear the difference between the masculine that we just did and feminine. Ella es alta. Okay, número 9. We are not stupid. So here's our first negative. We are not stupid. Nosotros no somos estúpidos. Nosotros no somos estúpidos. Or nosotras no somos estúpidas. Muy bien. Last one, número 10. You all are intelligent. You all are intelligent. And this one, it indicates in Spain. So we're going to use vosotros. Vosotros sois inteligentes. Vosotros sois inteligentes. Again, this one, because it's vosotros describing a group, so we have to make sure to add that S onto the end of inteligentes. So vosotros sois inteligentes. Okay, muy bien. Hopefully this is starting to feel more and more comfortable as we put these elements together. So let's do a little bit more practice. Next ejercicio. This one, we're going to be describing some relationships, which as we looked at in the description of when we use ser, relationships are one of the categories that fit under the use of ser. So same thing, we have to put together the elements that we need in order to make the right sentence. So, número 1, she is my friend. She is my friend. Ella es mi amiga. Ella es mi amiga. Again, choosing amiga because we're describing ella, which is she, it's feminine. Ella es mi amiga. This is probably one you can use in your everyday life. So you can use this right away to start practicing your Spanish. Ella es mi amiga. Número 2, he is not my friend. He is not my friend. So here's a negative. So as I said, we're going to just put that no in front of the verb. So, él no es mi amigo. Él no es mi amigo. Excelente. Número 3. Nosotros, so we now are translating, we are brothers. We are brothers. Nosotros somos hermanos. Nosotros somos hermanos. Again, keeping in mind because it's brothers, plural, so we need hermanos with S. So if we say nosotros somos hermano, doesn't work. Nosotros somos hermanos. Muy bien. Okay, número 4, they are fathers. Ellos son padres. Ellos son padres. Again, for they, so ellos, and son and padres, adding the S on the end because we're describing fathers, plural. Ellos son padres. Okay, excelente. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit. Número 5, he is your father. Okay, so a little bit different. He is your father. Él es tu padre. Él es tu padre. Él es tu padre. Here in this lesson, we're sneaking in a few little words for you to learn these possessives of saying my and your. So me and tu, these will come in handy. We'll definitely look at those more in depth later, but for now, let me help you to make the sentence by giving you those couple little words to add in. So, él es tu padre. Número 6, she is your mother. She is your mother. Ella es tu madre. Ella es tu madre. She's your mother. Ella es tu madre. They are friends. Ellos son amigos. Ellos son amigos. Or ellas son amigas. Ellas son amigas. Excelente. Okay. Número 8. We are mothers. Nosotras somos madres. Nosotros somos madres. She is a sister. She is a sister. Here's where we have to bring in our artículos indefinidos like un and una, unos and unas to say she is a sister. Ella es una hermana. Ella es una hermana. Muy bien. Last one for this exercise, número 10. We are sisters. We are sisters. Nosotras somos hermanas. Nosotras somos hermanas. Muy bien. Okay, that wraps up this exercise. Now I know it maybe seems a little bit kind of mindless to do the exercise in this way, but we really are doing these exercises just like this on purpose to help you really learn the structure of how you put together sentences. And the reason why we're doing it like this to learn, so you can learn how to put all the elements together of the sentence. And by doing it again and again and again, and again, I know it on the surface it seems kind of mindless, but it really is helpful for your brain to internalize the structure of how do you put together sentences in Spanish. And that way, when you go to speak, it becomes really like second nature, because that way you already know, your brain subconsciously already knows how to put together these sentences because you drilled the structure so many times. So these exercises we do are expressly on purpose in this way. So hopefully you're feeling really comfortable with ser by now. And so we're going to do one last exercise together. And I'm going to kind of give you some time to try to answer it for yourself first before I jump in. So I'm really relying on you and your skills to put together what you will need to put together your sentences. So try your best, and hopefully you're feeling pretty confident by now. So our last exercise we're going to do together, ahora con las profesiones, now practicing with the professions. And again, I'm going to give you a moment to answer first, and then I'll jump in with my answers. But hopefully you're feeling really confident with ser at this point so you can do it yourself. Número 1, she is a teacher. She is a teacher. Now, keeping in mind with this one that when we give professions in Spanish, we actually don't put the A in front of the profession. So this time we practice when we learn the vocab for professions, but just to remind you before we go into the exercise. So for example, if I'm going to say like I am a farmer, in English I'd say I am a farmer. In Spanish, you would say the equivalent of I am farmer. So yo soy agricultor or yo soy agricultora. So keep that in mind as we do our translations. And again, I'm going to let you go first. So número 1, she is a teacher. How do we say she is a teacher? ¿Cómo se dice she is a teacher en español? Ella es profesora. Ella es profesora. Okay, número 2. Again, I'm going to let you go first and see if you do the sentence all by yourself. They are students. They are students. Ellos son estudiantes. Ellos son estudiantes. He is an author. He is an author. Él es autor. Él es autor. Número 4. We are actors. We are actors. Nosotros somos actores. Nosotros somos actores. Hopefully you're going to be able to put these together really fast now that we've done so much practice. Número 5. She is a student. She is a student. Ella es estudiante. Ella es estudiante. I am a singer. Yo soy cantante. Yo soy cantante. Excelente. Número 7. They are not authors. Again, with our first negative, remember to put that no in the sentence. They are not authors. Ellos no son autores. Ellos no son autores. Número 8. You all in Spain are not doctors. Again, using the you all in Spain and also negative. You all in Spain are not doctors. ¿Cómo se dice? You all in Spain are not doctors. Vosotros no sois médicos. Vosotros no sois médicos. Okay, dos más. 2 more to go. Número 9. You are a singer. You are a singer. Tú eres cantante. Tú eres cantante. Last one. Número 10. I am a teacher. I am a teacher. Yo soy profesor. Yo soy profesor. Or yo soy profesora. Yo soy profesora. Just depends on the gender of the teacher. Okay, excelente trabajo. That's the end of this exercise. And so again, keep practicing with ser, keep practicing those conjugations, and practice doing more exercises like this one, where you can practice putting together the different elements of a sentence. And before you know it, you'll be able to put together all those things by yourself. And again, it'll become ingrained in you. So it's much easier as you learn more vocab and as you learn more verbs. Then if you know the structure, then you can just kind of plug the things in and you'll be able to start speaking before you know it. So that's all for today. Gracias y adiós.